Hello, and welcome back to Jollyroger Hobbies, and part 2 of our Mustang build. So, before we had just cut the foam in and put in the LEDs and the wingtips. Well, I've glued in the LEDs on the tips of the wings. Let's see how we can get in here. And so, all I did is take a foam safe CA glue and put a drop under each of the LEDs. Did the same for the other side and the beacon on the fuselage. So today we're going to be using Woodland Scenics foam putty to fill in the area where I cut out of the wing. Now we're only going to go up to the servo, because if you remember, the servo tape covered everything, which I have new servo tape. So all we need to do is go right here to this line. So we just need to fill in this part right here. Easy enough. So the directions on here tell you smooth on to foam with fingers or a putty knife. Oops. Smooth on the foam with fingers or a putty knife. Sand, carve, or paint when completely dry. Now, I try not to use my fingers for the simple reason that if you get it on your fingers and you go to grab something, you get it all over. Now, this stuff isn't real sticky and it doesn't stick to a lot of things, so that's not a real issue, but I would rather just use a popsicle stick, tongue depressor, whatever you want to call it, just to fill it in, so there's no issues. So let's go ahead and open this, and as you can see, it's just regular white foam on the inside, pretty much a liquid style. So we're just going to get a little bit, and we'll start right anywhere in the middle. And we're just trying to fill in that crack, that's all. Just like that. And it doesn't have to be pretty. The only thing we have to do is make sure it's level. And then we just get a little bit more and do it again. And all we're trying to do is fill in those cracks. Not trying to build it up. Not trying to do anything fancy. We're just filling in cracks. And I'm kind of scraping some of this excess off the wings, just so I don't have to worry about it later. And this is where you can take your fingers and you can see a little bit that comes off. And it doesn't quite stick to everything. And sorry, I'm kind of doing this off camera a little bit. I got the tripod set up. It's kind of a little difficult to work around, so please excuse me if I don't tend to get everything in frame. Now I say I try not to use my fingers, but obviously we end up using some of them anyways. Now this foam takes a while to dry, so it's not like CA glue where you have to have it perfect the very first time. So And if you have a whole glob left over, you could always just put it back in there. Now, when using this, you can cover this up if you're going to have it out for a while with the lid, or you could just leave it out. If it tends to dry, just add in a little bit of water and you can stir it up. I think I should have pushed that wire down a little bit further. There we go. Now when we level it, it actually covers it up. And that's what we want. And see, we'll just take our finger and clean up a little bit around it. And I know the lighting is not the best on this video, so I do apologize. But you could see where we filled it in. And what I'm going to do is take a soft cloth, dampen it, and just wipe off this excess here. But for the most part, and then we'll level that out. And remember, after this is dry, we'll be sanding it down. So if it's rough when you start, it's not a big issue. All you're going to do is take sandpaper, sand it down smooth. So it's actually okay to build it up a little bit because you are sanding it down. So if you get too much over, it's not a big issue. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same to the other side and on the fuselage. So we went ahead, we got it finished up, and I just wiped down the excess with a dampened cloth just to wipe off the excess here. And it's still rough, so don't worry about that because we are going to be sanding it down. And of course I did it to both sides, and you can tell that it's a bit rough. And I did it right to the line there. Then we also did it on the fuselage, where we put in that top beacon light. And that glares pretty bad. But we filled in this hole right here. Then, you'd have to remember the battery hatch cover had a couple holes in it and a dent mark here. And then there was a slight dent mark here that I just went ahead and filled this up. So what we'll be doing with this one, of course, is sanding it down. And then we're going to be painting this flat black to match the rest of the paint scheme we're going to be doing. So we want to get rid of all the divots and the holes that we can. And so that's pretty much what we have left over. Now, before this completely dries, this will wash off with just plain water. And again, if your foam putty starts to dry, just add in a little bit of water, stir it up. Sorry. Make sure you put the cap back on. Now we let everything dry. It's best to let it dry 24 hours. You could probably do 12 or so, but for me, 24 hours is going to be fine. And then we'll sand it down, and what we'll probably do is take this, the foam putty, put some in a regular cup, add some water, and I'll show you how to do that, and we'll make almost a mud looking thing. And after the wing is sanded down, all that, we'll take that mud and just smooth it right over the top to fill in all the little micro holes that are going to present themselves. And that'll fill that in. We'll then let that dry, then sand it down and smooth it, and then we'll be ready for painting. So while we're waiting on the foam filler to dry, we're going to go ahead and paint our nose cone, the backing plate, and the engine cowl. So when you're spray painting, always make sure you are in a well ventilated area. And currently we're outside, so you can't get much more ventilated than that. Also, for safety purposes, always use safety glasses. That way, if the wind comes up, anything, that stuff can get in your eyes. Always protect your eyes. So. So our foam filler has completely dried. We've given it about 24 hours, so it's solid. And of course we've got a bunch of raised spots, uneven. So what we're going to do now is take some 280 grit model sandpaper, which is about a medium, and all we're going to do is just level it. We're going to sand it down and level it. Don't worry about it getting it smooth, because we're going to mud over it. We just want to level with the rest of the foam around it. Alright, now that we've finished sanding down our plane, sanded it down just level, don't worry about smooth, now we're going to be mudding. I've got an empty cup, a cup of regular tap water, of course, popsicle stick, tongue depressor, putty knife, wood, board, whatever you want to call it. And this is the same one I used last time. I just washed it up with water afterwards and came out perfectly clean. So, and of course, we've got our foam putty. So, I'm going to just pop the top. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but got some crumbs falling around where it's dried up a little bit. All you need to do is add a little bit of water to that and stir it. We're going to show you here. So, I'm just going to take a good old glob and put it right in the cup. And you know what? I'm going to get some more. There. That ought to be plenty. And just because we don't need any more, and we don't want it to dry, I'm going to put our lid on our putty. Alright, now you're going to want to add the water a little bit at a time, not too much. I'm going to stir it around. And I think I added too much water. Like I said, a little at a time. So we're going to add some more putty in there. Very little with your water, obviously. And that's okay, we're going to be keeping this anyways, whatever we don't use, so it's not like I'm wasting any. There we go, that's better. That's actually being able to hold its shape. So now, we've got our consistency. So we're going to take the water out of the picture, close up our foam filter again, and first thing we're going to do is our battery hatch, which I sanded down to, it just wasn't in the video. I'm going to take this, and just put a light coating over it. And this is what we're going to be sending down smooth. What this is doing is it's going to fill up all those microfractures. We got a panel line right here we want to keep. And remember, we're going to be painting over this whole thing, so if you got excess, it's not going to matter. So we'll set that aside. Okay, now we have our smooth consistency with a little bit more water in there. That's going to take out some of those bubbles and divots. And then we'll come back after it's dry. We'll give it another 24 hours. We'll sand it down. And then it'll be ready for painting. And we'll keep that for later. Alright. Stay tuned for part 3.